is I'm going to review again Spells and Cinders. Currently discussing Spells and Cinders. It is a book by author called Hannah GE underscore. Yeah, she said that she is 25 years old, lives in the US. She has a cat named Violet, and she loves her to death. And Violet is basically Hannah's child. So immediately who doesn't like cat people? Who doesn't like a cat girl? I love cats. They're the best. So I'm going to start out by kind of going over like the initial impressions of Spells and Cinders as a pre-reader, and then I'll go into what I thought of the book, and then I'll go into my thoughts deeper on the book, and I'll pop up spoilers for the book, although I don't know if I'll really be getting into any spoilers at all throughout the whole book, and I'll get to that later. But anyways, Spells and Cinders. This is the summary that is provided by the author on the website. So it is Hannah GE underscore. It's rated complete, or it's complete, and it's rated mature. So mature on Wattpad is most of the time it means just a ton of smut, which is just what Wattpad is completely ripe with, a crap ton of smut, sexual things. But this book doesn't have any of that. This book is rated mature because of the language that is used in it. And I don't think that I can't remember any violence, but there's like mature themes, but it's not like sexual themes. So anyways, this is the summary on that. So completed and undergoing major editing is the tag here, for 16 plus. A modern twist on Walt Disney's classic Cinderella, the original 1950s version. A mix between fantasy and romance with spellbinding magic etched in. You all know the beloved tale of Cinderella, right? Now, what happens when the girl who's supposed to be filling Cinderella's glass slippers turns out to be a spell-casting witch in disguise? And then, so that's the summary that you get, the little hint to the book. And then it says, warning, this book contains major profanity, family issues, some high school cliches, mentions of hidden bisexuality, mentions of depression/suicide, and mentions of leukemia. And the tags are BMWW. And I looked that up because I actually didn't know what that was. And I think it means black male, white woman. So it's like a mixed couple. However, I didn't think that the love interest was ever described as black. So I don't know if that's something that's changed or just something that I missed in the book. I should actually go back and read when he's initially described. Anyways, that's the first tag. Then there's Cinderella, cliche, Dreamland books, enemies to lovers, family issues, fantasy, free mental illness, French, friendship, high school, interracial couple, LGBT, magic, mature, modern fairy tale, poetry, romance, secrets, and witch. So those are the tags. Oh, hey, Terry. Just getting into my Wattpad book review. So that is kind of your initial thoughts on the book. And I really like the cover. So I do want to say that I think the cover is super cool. And I should actually do a review on the covers as well. I've never done that before. And Celadon Bay's book cover was awesome. So I definitely should have said something, but, Spells and Cinders book cover is pretty cool. It's really simple. I am always a fan of minimalist covers. I like them. I don't like them to be too complicated. But Spells and Cinders is pretty cool. I like the hands, and it's very magic-y and cute. You started too early. I was going to wake up at 11:30. Yeah, that is a nice cover. Yeah, well, my baby is sick, so he's home today. So normally I schedule these streams specifically for when I'm not working and my kids are in daycare. And poor baby, he is sick, and so I put him down for his nap, and he usually sleeps for like 2 hours around this time, so I was like, I'll just do it now. So that's why my schedule is a little bit off. He just woke up like 5 seconds ago. I'm looking at him on the baby monitor. He just woke up 5 seconds ago, but he probably will go back to sleep. But I might have to cut this short. Oh, hello, Hanky. Nice to see you. Sorry, I don't mean to call you out, but I will, because you're a darling and I want to say hello. because I'm an extrovert that way. But anyways, I like the cover a lot. And there is a reason why I chose this book. So for Spells and Cinders, the reason why I chose Spells and Cinders of the other, like out of the group of books that had requested a review on my Wattpad thing. Well, first of all, you had me at, major profanity. When I see like major profanity as like a tag, I immediately, like, not because I love cussing, and I cuss a lot, like in my writing and in my mind, and the music I listen to has lots of swearing, but actually speaking to people, I never cuss. And whenever I cuss, like whenever I swear, like slips out, it feels so unnatural in my mouth, but like my brain loves swearing. Like I love to hear it. I love to see it. I love to write it. I love swearing. It's fun dialogue. It's fun words. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I got to check this out. It's Cinderella plus swearing plus magic. It's got to be cool, right? So that's actually why I chose it. Also, it was a super, super quick read. So it's an hour and a half, according to Wattpad, to read this book. So it was so short. It's 17 parts. It was really, really, really quick read. So that's kind of why I chose this book, because I was like, very interesting premise, a spin on a mod. I'm not like you can tell this author's like very, very into Disney, and I'm not like big on the Disney princess stuff. I'm like not like an adult Disney gal, but it's super fun to hear stories that you're so familiar with retold with twists. So even if you're not a Disney person, it's really fun to hear different takes on a story that you're familiar with. So that's why I chose this book. The main character, I guess our modern Cinderella, her name is Andrea Ella, or Andy Ella. And so she has the nickname Cinderella that is given to her by her cousins who take the place of her stepsisters. Her cousins are Ruby and Emily, and they're like the classic, stuck up, handed everything to them cousins. And then Andy is kind of a character that I had a hard time wrapping my head around because, not really a hard time wrapping my head around, but as far as like, she's difficult to summarize, I think. She's a difficult character to summarize just for if you're given a quick tagline on the book. So I think she's fun. I think that she's a fun girl. She's not like a downtrodden underdog that you would expect. I mean, she seems like she's pretty confident. There are times that you would expect her, having a personality like she has, to kind of stick up for herself a little bit more, but she's not like I wouldn't call her like submissive like you would expect in a Cinderella trope. So that's Andy Ella. Andrea is her full name. Her mom, who you are introduced to in the prologue, is immediately locked away in a hospital. You don't really get to see her mom a lot, but she's actually is not killed off. She lives with her uncle David and I call her the stepmother, but it's really her aunt. And then she has a best friend, Cassie, who, as far as cliche characters go, Cassie is the best kind of cliche character, protective, spicy best friend, a little bit wild, a little bit roguish. So really like, and just kind of eccentric, she, like, you're introduced to her, she's wearing a crown, like a tiara, on her head to high school. It's like, this is modern day high school that this book is set in. So that's kind of cool too. And then the love interest name is Graham. And so I don't really have a lot to say about the characters, because other than Cassie and a little bit of Andy, they're a little bit inconsistent. But I'll get to that. But anyways, so we're looking at, and I'm just going to call her Andy, because in my head, I always want to say Andrea or Andrea, and I'm going to flip between the two. So I'm just going to call her Andy because that's a nickname that she commonly has throughout the book. So Andy's the main character. She's our Cinderella. She has powers and she uses them. You're immediately, you realize that she, is given a lot of the chores around the house, whereas her cousins are not. So it's like that classic trope there. which is nice to see. She doesn't seem like she doesn't seem like she's like super nerdy, but she is very good at French. And I think that she speaks Spanish as well. So I think she's pretty good at foreign languages and has an interest in French. And then it doesn't really focus on her magic. She uses her magic a little bit to like do little tiny things, but the focus is not on her magic, which was an interesting choice by the author to not focus on the fact that she's magic and has to keep it a secret. And I mean, that was like not the focus of the plot. Now, I'm actually probably just going to go straight into, I'm going to call these spoilers. I don't think that they're really spoilers just because it's more of just like a review. But as far as the plot goes, so Andy's mom is locked away because they think she's crazy because she has magic powers, and for some reason and it doesn't get into it ever, for some reason she gets sent away to like a mental hospital for thinking that she's special. It's like grandiose delusional syndrome or something like that. She actually says what she has. Of course, the mom actually does have powers, but for some reason the mom can't get herself out of the hospital. So at like the age 8, I believe, of Andy is age 8. The mom is sent away to the hospital, and so that's why Andy has to go and live with her cousin, her uncle, and her evil aunt, and her 2 evil stepsister or evil cousins. So that's the plot, is that she's kind of there at 8 years old. And then it skips ahead until they're like, I think, seniors in high school. And I'm pretty sure they're seniors in high school because she's like really looking forward to graduating and getting out of the house. Well, very early on, I think it's like chapter 1. Yeah, I think chapter 1, they announced that the mom is finally being released out of the hospital. After all these years, like 10 years later, the mom is being released out of the hospital and is coming and to see her. So they're getting ready for this party to celebrate the mom coming out of the hospital. And so Andy has to do all of these chores to try and get ready for it. And so I think that that's like kind of the main plot. She has to go to school, she has to finish these chores, and she's going to be seeing her mom. So it's like a lot going on. And then, so she gets to school, and then she also, because she's so good at French, she also gets assigned to be like a tutor to the classic, the jock guy, the love interest, Graham. And so she has to tutor him in French, or she's like signed up with him, and she keeps running into him and stuff. And so that's like the plot, that's like kind of where we were going, is like you're expecting by the end of this you're gonna see the mom. Now, as far as plots go, it was I don't think that the plot was very thought out, because it wasn't executed, from beginning to end, and the plot kept changing, and there was so many things where it was like there was no follow up on a lot of these like things that were hinted at. So, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and point those out right now. So there is Andy keeps getting these mysterious text messages saying that like, oh, I know your secret, which is that she's magic, right? She's like, oh, she's getting these mysterious messages. I know your secret. And so somebody's kind of like, not terrorizing her, but like basically hinting like, I know what you are. And you never find out who's messaging her. It's not like important to the plot. I thought that was going to be the main plot when I was reading this. I thought the main plot was going to be like, oh, somebody's going to like blackmail her and expose her as magic. And she should be concerned about that because her mom is currently like locked, or is getting out of a mental hospital because she has this grandiose delusional disorder. So if she was going to be ousted for having magic powers, I mean, that would be a fear of mine if it was like something that I was worried about, of being like ousted for having magic powers, or people thinking that I believed I had magic powers or something like that. I would be worried about getting locked up like my mom did. That's not part of the plot at all. It never comes back. You never find out who did it. The texts just suddenly stop coming. And it's not the main character doesn't even seem terribly concerned. Like, of course, when they happen, she's like, what the heck? Who is this? Who's messaging me? And she tells her best friend, like, because her best friend is aware of her powers or whatever. So anyways, that's the plot. Or that's part of the plot. She also, of course, has this love interest, Graham, who's this typical jock. And I don't think that Andy is not like this, like, nerd or anything like that, or like in the cliche thing as far as like people, like a weird girl who people wouldn't normally like. I mean, I think she's pretty and she's smart. She's just not like, I don't think she views herself as like one of the popular girls or something. So when she interacts with Graham, she's cranky towards Graham, doesn't think that Graham is all that great. And there was actually a really funny part with Graham when she first meets him, and it makes you like the main character. And it's kind of this funny thing where she uses her magic to just like open a locker door to hit Graham in the face, which I thought was pretty cool, like funny, and it made me like the character more, because if she's like willing to just kind of use magic recklessly to do funny stuff like that, she's going to be interesting to read. So that's what I thought about the main character, about the main character. Now, Graham, the love interest, and again, I don't remember him being described as black. So, because it's talking about biracial and talking about, but I could be wrong there. I was picturing him white. So maybe if he was black, maybe she should have explained it a little bit better, because I never ever pictured him as black. And I actually forgot about the tags where it was like a biracial couple or black male, white woman. So I would definitely touch on that a little bit more since she's going through major editing. And he's like the cliche jock, and there are like other cliche jocks, and it's really funny. There's this scene where the jocks like walk into the cafeteria and everybody starts cheering, including the lunch ladies, like cheering and getting so excited that the jocks are in the room, and they start chanting and banging on the tables. And I thought that was so funny and so weird like that, because like growing up, I barely knew who was playing on what sport. And there was a couple of kids that I think owned Letterman jackets. Mostly girls were the softball girls, and the soccer girls would sometimes wear their Letterman jackets. And I think I even got letters for snowboarding, but I never bought a jacket to like put them on. So it's always funny because you always see that in TV and movies and stuff where they have their Letterman jackets and they're like the celebrities of the school. But it's just so different from the reality I grew up with, where and I went to a really small school and it was not like athletically competitive at all. So that might have something to do with the fact that nobody cared about who played what sport in the slightest, like at all. But I always think it's funny when that occurs in books or in TV, where it's like, oh, it's the cliche jock. And it's like, I don't know, the cliche jocks were not like definitely were not celebrities growing up, but it's always on TV. And so it was stuff like this throughout the book that kind of made me think of like a Disney Channel type of show. So that was the vibe I was getting. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually what the author was going for, because I think the author really likes Disney. And I grew up watching like Wizards of Waverly Place and like Lizzie McGuire, which was that show that Hilary Duff did when she was a kid. And so I was kind of getting those vibes from this book. So anyways, that was the kind of cliche fun stuff that existed. However, when you get to Graham, usually the cliche jock has deeper stuff to him. And I think the author does a really good job of conveying or having you sympathize for Graham once you step into his POV. And can I just say that when you're in Graham's POV, like the writing is much better when you're in Graham's POV. I thought like it was like, wow, I'm feeling these things that I did not feel when I was in Andy's POV. And when I'm in Graham's POV, it's like he has a lot more complicated issues, according to him. You know, he has a sister who has cancer, his parents are divorced, and his dad sucks. Like you immediately hate Graham's dad so much, and you sympathize with Graham immediately. So I think the author does a really, really good job. And I forget which chapter that was. Chapter 5. That was I think my favorite chapter was chapter 5. Graham's point of view. The emotion is well done. You hate his dad, you sympathize with him immediately. So then once you're in Graham's POV, you like Graham. Okay? And you realize that he really likes Andy. Graham really likes Andy, cuz before that you're not really. Hi B. How are you? Just in the middle of my Wattpad review. I hope that you guys are drinking your chai. I'm drinking my chai. If you haven't tried it yet, do it. Drink it. I drink it with my non-fat milk and a scoop of protein powder. It's delicious. So creamy. And I always pile it high. Hey, Jabba 3. Nice to see you. I'm on mobile, so please know I'm 2 minutes behind. Oh, you didn't like it, did you? You did not like the chai. I'm going to guess, but you're 2 minutes behind. Hi, Jabba 3. Thank you, by the way, for chatting. Oh, thank you, B. You're the biggest fan of chai. You know what? That would be weird if you didn't add milk. That would be like the sweetest. It's like really, really sweet. Oh, okay. Did you warm it up? You know what? You don't need to explain yourself if you don't like it. This was my first comment on Twitch ever. Oh my gosh. I am honored, Jabba 3. Thank you so much for chatting. Oh my gosh, I feel so special. Welcome to Twitch. I think most people are like lurkers, which I've learned. A lurker is somebody who just watches and doesn't say anything and doesn't ever intend to say anything. So thank you for chatting. It's super fun. But I'm not a big cinnamon spice fan. I love chai. I do like a quarter chai and 3/4 milk. I do half chai, half milk, and then protein. My mom says thank you. I hope, yes, tell your mom a special love from Oregon. I love cinnamon. I'm a big cinnamon fan. So chai is the bomb, of course. Put some whipped cream on it. Whipped cream's hecka good on it. So what is it that you do? I just read a lot of books and then I talk about those books that I read. So I'm talking to Jabba 3 right now. So that's what I do. So right now I read this, there's this website called Wattpad, and it's like a bunch of free books. And they're written by like amateur authors or people like trying to get beta readers or, and stuff like that. Like there's definitely plenty of great authors, but for the most part, people just post their draft books onto this website. So you get to read books for free and you get to comment on those books. So that's what I'm doing. I read this book on this website called Wattpad called Spells and Cinders. And now I'm talking about it so that, you know, if the author wants to edit it or just wants some feedback on her book, then she can get it from one person who read it and just giving my thoughts. So that's what I do. And then after we're done with this, we're going to go over another book that we read for the book club, Dreadful, which was really good. That book was amazing. So that's what we're talking about. That's what I do. I just read books and I know things. Okay, thanks, Jabba 3. I will keep it up. Appreciate it. I'm so excited for Dreadful too. It is so good. I'm so glad I finished it because I was worried I wasn't going to finish it. Yeah, that book was really, really good. But anyways, let's go. Let's get back. I'm going to finish up with Spells and Cinders. So anyways, chapter 5 is great with Graham. The author did a good job in his POV. You sympathize because his sister has cancer. His dad is like not even going to see the sister who has cancer, even though she's dying. And so you are like, oh, poor Graham. And then my head was like, oh, I wonder if the main character is going to use her magic to help the sister, Graham's sister. Nobody talks about the sister ever again. You don't know what happens to the sister. You don't know what happens to dad. You don't know what happens to Graham. You never follow back up on that entire storyline, even though to me it was the most interesting, but it was probably the most interesting because it was the most well written. And I'm saying that because Graham, you are like living and you're like feeling his kind of deeper emotions because the author took the time to add depth to Graham. Now, unfortunately, the author didn't do the same thing with Andy. So Andy, her mom is has been her whole life trapped into like a mental institute or a hospital or whatever. And you don't know if she's had any communication with her. You don't like a girl losing her mom is a big deal. And so she's obviously gone through a lot. She's on a lot of antidepressants. She's kind of, to me, it seemed like she was abusing the antidepressants. She just takes them a lot, relies on them a lot. So there's definitely a lot going on with him in the main character, but you don't get to feel it. So that, as far as like the show not tell thing, she's showing things like, okay, she's showing like that the main character has these issues. She has this background of not having a parent. She has this background of, depression. She's seeing a therapist. She has this secret that she's hiding. She has a lot. So she has a lot going on. The main character does, but she also cares more about like the chores that she has to do, which is a very Cinderella thing. But the moment that the evil aunt tells her like, oh, hey, your mom's getting out of the hospital. She'll be here Friday. So you'd think that this would elicit this huge emotional response from the main character. And it does for like maybe a second until the aunt's like, you have to do all these chores because we're throwing a big party to welcome your mom. And then she's like super worried about her chores and then doesn't think about like the fact that her mom, who she hasn't seen in a decade, is coming back. Her mom, who is magic and could teach her and all this stuff. Like, so I feel like the heavy stuff is completely missed. Like, and to me, that just kind of, that was just because of the kind of Disney Channel vibes that it was going for. The book was like, it wasn't going to linger on these heavy topics. So that's why I thought that the author was doing that. However, it lingered with Graham, and I thought the quality of that chapter with Graham was much higher. And then, so anyways, it's just a bummer because I would have liked to explore that. But if you don't want to explore it as the author and you don't think that it's a big part of the plot, then that's fine. It was just a little bit weird because there was a lot of mature themes throughout the book regarding substance abuse, depression, suicide, leukemia, like cancer, death, divorce. She's getting blackmailed, and it didn't follow through. So my main criticism of this book is that it did not seem like it was well thought out, like as far as plots go. I think that they had like this really cute idea for characters and this really cute, like this story that they loved. And then they started writing it and they had like kind of these cool, like little subplots that they wanted to add. And then they didn't actually do anything with them. So my big thing was I really wished that, number one, she should have been like really thinking about her mom more. And maybe she was, and maybe the author's like, well, of course she was thinking about her mom. As a reader, I did not think that the main character was thinking about her mom. So she should be so excited and so focused on the fact that she's going to see her mom again and not live with her evil aunt and cousins anymore. That would be just such a huge thing where it's like, it would keep coming back into the story. Like every single chapter, it should be mentioned that the mom is coming out of the hospital, because it's not really part of the chapter or part of the book very much at all. It's at the beginning and at the end, and then that's it. Another thing is whoever's blackmailing her and saying, hey, I know your secret, that needs to come back and like at the end of the book. I don't know why it was included if it wasn't part of the book. And to me, that was like the mystery. You know, that's something that you can hook a reader with, is like, oh, somebody's blackmailing him, blackmailing the main character. I want to know what that is. I want the main character to show fear or stress or something about it a little bit more consistently. And then I have no notes on the best friend. I love Cassie. She was awesome. She was super funny. She was super cool. I also thought that the cousins were great. Well done. They were, you know, your typical obnoxious, annoying, stupid, spoiled brats. And I thought that was really well. One thing that they did that was actually made me laugh was when Ruby, the other cousin, not Ruby, Emily reveals that she broke up with her boyfriend the night before. And then Ruby, her sister, was like, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me that you broke up? We could have keyed his car. And I thought that was really funny, because that's like, I know that the author was trying to make it seem like it was like, oh, a spoiled brat, of course they would just key the guy's car. I think that's hilarious, because I mean, being in high school, I maybe had a sister who would definitely key somebody's car if I got dumped. Because I had a crazy sister growing up. I mean, I still have a crazy sister. She's just an adult now, and I don't think she would key anybody's car. She'd do something worse, maybe. But anyways, I thought that was funny, and I think that the cousins were well done. They were just obnoxious. They were exactly what they were supposed to be. So my biggest thing, not my biggest thing, but the fun part of reading a book is, of course, Prince Charming, Graham, who the author did a good job of making us like. I would have spent way, way more time on our introduction to him, because when I first read him, I was like, is this going to be the, you know, main love interest because he spends so little time on the page, or is he just some random dude that she ran into in the hallway? I would spend a lot more time with Graham, introducing him, establishing his physical traits, because again, I did not get that he was black, but that could have just been, maybe I skipped over an important detail and I don't remember it. I would spend more time on, is he attractive? Is he funny? And that, like, have their cute little banter, because I think that the main character is witty. And so, hinting that maybe the, main character likes him or doesn't like him, because this is supposed to be like an enemies to lovers thing. Although I don't really think that they're enemies at all. And then Graham also goes like back and forth between being like, his character, didn't you think the girl in Cherry's store was dark? Yes, that's true. That's true. That's very true, B. Because I thought her twin brother was Asian. That's right, an elemental. I definitely thought Emily I was picturing her Native American, I think. I was picturing her like either Native American or Mexican. And that's still how I picture her. I don't actually know what she's supposed to look like. I'm reading the book again, so I will have to reread Emily's descriptors, because I definitely thought that she was Native American. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, so yeah, maybe I'm just bad at that. Maybe I didn't pick up on things that were very clearly there. As a reader, I am flawed. I'm sorry, author, if you're hearing this and being like, what? I specifically said he's had super dark skin and what other traits, you know, so sorry if I missed that. It's a very strong possibility. But I would definitely spend a lot more time establishing a relationship between Graham and Andy, because that is the fun part to read. And we didn't get hardly any of it. I mean, it's a really short story, so you'd have to really weave it into everything. But anyways, you're putting it in bold. Oh, dang it. I didn't put on the chat box again. Hang on. Please. I did it again. I want the chat box on there. Let's see. And my baby woke up again. He went back to sleep, but he woke up again, so I might have to get off. Where do I find chat highlight? Chat box. There we go. Okay. Pretty sure the chat's back on. Sorry about that. Anyways, spend a lot more time on Graham. I don't think that we got the fun part of them like kind of falling in love together or even falling into like with each other. It just wasn't a lot. Test is working. Thank you, Terry. So anyways, that's kind of like my main my main thoughts on that is just really spend a lot more time on the plot, because it seems like you had a lot going on. The author had a lot going on the plot, but it wasn't properly outlined. And so we didn't get the lot of the story that we really wanted. Also, when the mom shows up, I just feel like in every single case, the daughter would be the main character would have been very, very excited to see her mom after not seeing her for so long. And the mom seems like she's a little eccentric too, because at the she does some stuff, and she definitely treats her magic a little bit recklessly. So I think that is that's very interesting and almost dangerous. And I feel like you could kind of highlight the danger and include that throughout the story of being like, yeah, well, the reason why your mom is in that hospital isn't just because they thought that she had this great, because why else? She could get out of everything. She has magic. Why would she be staying in a hospital when she could be with her daughter? Maybe her mom is a little bit off, because I don't think that the fact that she has magic means that she needed to be in a hospital. I think that there might be more to that, but I don't know. That's the thing, is that I don't know, because I feel like it wasn't properly written out. Like, we didn't get to experience a lot as readers. So these notes aren't perfect. I'm sorry. I meant to spend more time organizing these notes, but sick kid, so I had no time this week to do anything. I had a sick husband and a sick baby, so I got to try and hurry up on this one. But I just a really quick random note on chapter 3. There is a whole paragraph that starts with, "I rolled my eyes at the list Celia sent me 5 minutes ago," and that paragraph is repeated like later in the chapter, so it's like duplicated. And then on chapter 6, so chapter 5 we spend in Graham's POV, and then chapter 6 switches POVs back to Andy. And I spent half the chapter wondering if we were still in Graham's POV or if we had switched back to Andy's, because it wasn't clear. So you need to put some kind of the author needs to put some kind of indicator at the beginning to state that we were back in Andrea's POV or Andy's POV. Also, I did have some favorite quotes. First of all, the opening is, "Once upon a time in a faraway land called Danbury, Connecticut." I just feel like that's a cute way to start out a book. I thought that was really cute, and I liked that. And then I also liked the poem that Andy was writing, and it says, "I'm trapped here, a small bird in an even smaller cage. I'm suffocating. My feathers gradually disintegrate. I can't fly. I can't sing. I can't do anything but wait. Wait until you want to set me free, as time escalates too rapidly." So again, there's like I think that's a pretty good poem. I'm not a big poetry person, but I read that and I was like, that's pretty cool. And I think that it indicates like there's like depression, of course, that the main character experiences, and then there's implied suicide, which nobody talks about. So it's like just like barely implied, but apparently it's not relevant enough to the plot to actually discuss or elaborate on. And so I don't know, there's a lot of good stuff going on there, and it bounces from being like dark and depressing to like, yeah, any advice that you want, I give great advice. What do you need, Jabba? Do you have a recommendation on a story for a short film? Nice plot twist. I would steer clear of like cliches. So like the stuff that you're expecting, right? Like you're expecting the person that you trust the most to betray you. You're expecting, like there's like don't redo all of the plots. What did I read recently where it was like, oh, I was suspecting this person. Do you have a recommendation on a story for a short film? A short film? How short are we talking? Like 5 minutes? I always really like short films. I don't think I do have a recommendation. Like 5 minutes. Okay. If we're doing a 5 minute, you know what I always thought would be really, really funny, actually. And Jabba, if you can figure this out, you should how to do this. You should totally, totally do it. So whenever you're watching a horror movie, they always have like all of these creepy scenarios, right? Where they have the jump scares that you're expecting, where they close the mirror and there's somebody behind them or whatever, or the kids laughing are extra creepy or whatever. And because I have kids, and it's so funny because they do all of the creepy things that are in movies. Like they stare at you when you're sleeping and you wake up and their faces are right in front of you. Or I walked into my daughter just staring at the wall like 3 inches from it, like doing creepy stuff like that. So I think that it would be like, I think it would be really funny to do like a really, really spooky type of scary movie short story, except it just turns out the kid's normal. So they're doing all of these like demonic type things, but it's really just kids being weird because kids are weird. So at the end, you're just like, I don't know, pointing out like, yeah, kids are just weird. And then maybe at the end, you don't know if their kid is possessed or if it's just, that's children. So so I don't know, maybe that's a good idea. For top of head, I think that's pretty good because my daughter does really, really creepy things. I don't know. And we have so many pictures where she's like doing this thing and like looking up all creepy. So do what you want with that, Jabba. If it's 5 minutes, it could be pretty funny. It could be like very scary where, yeah, no problem. And thanks so much for chatting. I forgot what I was gonna. I forgot what I was saying about Spells and Cinders, and now I'm really bummed about it. Bummed that I didn't spend the proper time to organize my notes on this one. But author, if you're watching this, very, very cute book. I would definitely pick a lane. Are you gonna do the like kind of Disney Channel stuff where it's like you have the kooky best friend and you have the fun Sabrina style magic, or are you gonna do the mature things? I would choose one or the other. And it's perfectly fine to do like a Boy Meets World where you have both, but you need to do it right. Like you need to weave them into each other. And I'm assuming that you've seen Sabrina, and I'm assuming that you've seen Boy Meets World or Girl Meets World, the remake, which I'm sure has very, very similar themes. But I would definitely write out your plot and the plot points. So write out your plot as far as the person so starting out with the mom coming back, right? You're starting out with the mom who has been missing from the main character's life. That needs to be included throughout the entire story. That should be the main plot, right? A subplot is a subplot is the aunt and the cousins being just a burden while the main character's striving towards the main plot, which is seeing her mom again, right? Then you get this other subplot of somebody is blackmailing me. By the way, my guess is Katani, although again it's never revealed who is blackmailing the girl. And I say blackmailing because I don't know what the purpose of them texting her anonymously is. I'm assuming blackmail or just to terrorize her, right? So that's another subplot, but it still is just something getting the way of her main goal, which is to see her mom. And this is just advice, right? And then she has the depression and suicide, which is part of the character development, right? So she's a fun girl. And a lot of fun girls have serious issues. So that you do not need to pick one or the other, but you do need to make sure that it's part of the character, which I didn't feel. It seemed like it was more like one or the other, right? And then the Graham, who is another subplot that will be elevated to the main plot, right? And then my personal opinion is that you need to extend the time between when we're told that the mom is coming back and the time that the mom is actually coming back, so that you can develop you can develop the characters and introduce the characters and develop the plot enough to where the climax is Graham and the mom meeting, because then you can kind of combine the main plots together, and then maybe combine that with the spring formal somehow. I don't know. But I would spend a lot more time on Graham because, one, the romance is fun to read, and two, it doesn't make a lot of sense the way it is now. You just kind of jump from them kind of barely ever talking or knowing each other to being friends to him asking her out on a date. She never even has like an internal thought of like, do I like this guy? Is it, wise for me to get into a relationship? Blah, blah, blah. I would definitely work that all out. I think that you have a talent, I can see that you are the author is definitely talented at writing, but has not spent a lot of time making this putting together the structure of this book. So I would work on that and then get into the fun other stuff. But that's my advice. That's my review. And it's a terrible review. I did not do a good job of organizing it or saying the things that I really liked about the plot and liked about the story, other than because I was just kind of confused by the plot and confused by the vibe of the story because it seemed a little bit unorganized. But I would definitely read it again. I mean, the author did say that they are going through major edits. So author, if you're watching this and you would like me to review this again after you're done with your edits, I would love to, because I would love to read a story like this. I mean, it seems very cool. I think you have the great start of something. I just don't think that it was executed as well as it could have been. So that is my review on Spells and Cinders. I'm going to move on now